today's video is going to be a newborn's essentials video. So this is something I wanted to film for a really long time. If you guys know, my daughter just turned 1, but I still wanted to do this video just because, and let me take out my AirPods. Oh my God. I just realized I still have those in. This is a video I wanted to do because I feel like there are so many items out there and you feel so much pressure to use a whole bunch of stuff. To be honest, I don't think you really need. I think there are just a few items that I personally use all the time that got me by, and yeah, I don't know. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the essentials that I think are newborn essentials. I'm also going to do a toddler's essentials video, which will be coming up pretty soon. I'm not going to do the videos back to back because I want to kind of have a little break in between them. Yeah, for now, I'm just going to talk about the stuff that I used a lot when she was a newborn. I know everyone's opinions are different and what everyone uses are different, and if you guys may use things that I didn't feel like I needed to use, or you guys may use you guys may see things here that you don't think that you need. So to each their own. The first thing that I feel like I used a ton, especially the first couple days coming home from the hospital, is one of these little like suction thingies. This is the actual one, like this is the one the hospital gave us. We also had a second one that I got in the kit from Target. I think it's like the Safety First kit. These are so helpful for a lot of things. Whether it's for sucking like any kind of congestion they have in their nose out, or whether they're like a little drooly, or they spit up and you're in the car and you feel like you need to suck it out. It's very helpful for all of that. I really like these. We did keep ours in the car, and our hospital made us put this in the car seat with our baby on the way home. So I really do highly recommend these. I kept one in her car seat during the car, like while we were in the car, for probably up to like 2 to 3 months, because I was so anxious of her like spitting up in the car and like me not being able to get her out. I just really feel like this came in handy a lot, and I highly recommend them. And I also highly recommend to keep them in your car seat. Like I said, we had one at home and we had one in the car seat at all times until she was about 3 to 4 months old. The next thing that we used a ton, which I feel like is such a standard thing, I feel like everyone knows this, but we use swaddles a lot. This is something that is so necessary for little babies. This brand in particular, I know people are super like iffy about their swaddles. This is the Kyle and Dina brand. I believe you can get this at Bye Bye Baby and Target, if I'm remembering correctly. I can't remember, but I really love this brand. It's almost like this muslin material, and it is these are my favorite. I know that the Copper Pearl Swaddle Blankets are super popular, but I actually ended up not getting any of those. I planned to, and I just never did. I actually ended up liking these so much, these muslin ones, because they were warm enough, but they weren't super like suffocatingly warm. So I really like these. I think the material is great. They're not super expensive, and I love them. Swaddles are amazing, whether you just put them over your baby in the car seat or at home, just to keep them a little bit warm, or obviously just to swaddle them when they're so little and they need that comfort. This immediately helped a lot of Mia's issues. If she was crying or she was upset, we swaddled her and she immediately just kind of calmed down. So that's a given, but this brand, specifically the Kyle and Dina brand, I will leave everything linked below, by the way. This brand is so good to me. So if you want an alternative or something else that's not like another recommendation besides the typical Copper Pearl or that kind of swaddle that are kind of expensive, to be honest, this is what I would recommend. Next thing I recommend is just obviously a ton of birth cloths. We had a ton of these. I used receiving blankets as birth cloths, and then this is one that my mother-in-law gave me, and I really like I just use these a lot. I use them for myself if I was leaking. I use them for Mia if she spit up or when she was drinking or whatever else. They just come in handy a ton, and I highly recommend to have like a million of them in your diaper bag at once. I'm actually not kidding, but they're so necessary, and this is like one thing I recommend to like have so many of and to always keep with you no matter where you're going. The next thing I would recommend having is obviously some kind of really easy sleeper. So these right here, the long sleepers with they're almost more like dresses. I actually don't know the exact term of this, but these are super easy because at night, rather than dealing with buttons or zippers or whatever, you can just pull them up. Now, I didn't use these as often as I guess like some other people may have, but they are really helpful when they're newborns and you're trying not to like disturb them too much at night. Every single time I nursed Mia in the middle of the night, I changed her diaper, so this was just super easy to pull up. I didn't have to fully get her out of her, you know, undressed if she was in like a zipper onesie or something like that. I could just quickly pull it up over her legs up to her stomach and just change her diaper and go about our business, like pull it down and we're good to go. So the onesies I do recommend if you do want to do zippers. Buttons, honestly, I love the button ones and I still do use them. Matt always gets super annoyed because he does not like to use the button ones, but I personally like the zipper ones that zipper from the bottom up, so that if you want to use zipper ones or if you have the zipper ones at nighttime especially, they're super easy to just zipper from the bottom up and you don't have to fully unzip them. You can just zip it, unzip it halfway to like their belly once again, so that you can just change their diaper and then zip it fully back down and you're not having to once again fully get them like undressed and trying to change their diaper. The next thing that we used all the time that I feel like is not talked about enough are mittens. Now, I'm gonna be also very honest and I'm gonna try to give you guys a little tip. Those standard mittens that like say newborn size, in my opinion, I know my baby was born pretty little and, you know, I mean, she was in preemie for, I mean, up to at least a month, but I feel like those newborn mittens are not meant for newborns. They're huge. Still to this day, they're like a little big on my 1-year-old. I'm using the newborn mittens now as she's 1 year old, and once again I know she's a little smaller than some babies, but still like she's not that much smaller, and I feel like there's just no way those things fit any baby's hands. I recommend the preemie mitts. That's my personal opinion. The only place I've ever been able to find them is Bye Bye Baby, and I highly recommend them. I used mittens all the time. In fact, everyone always commented on how much I use mitts, but it's honestly because they're so necessary in my opinion, so that either your baby doesn't scratch their face or her hands. Mia's hands got cold so much and like really cold, and this was the only thing that stopped them from like basically feeling freezing all the time. So I had mittens on her all the time. It wasn't until she started to put her hands in her mouth that I finally took the mittens off, but I think they're so necessary because babies do have like, they're so temperature sensitive, and unless you're in like a super warm climate, which I wasn't, and I had her in the middle of winter, so I used these a lot up until honestly she was 3 or 4 months old, and I swear by them. But like I said, a tip I can give you is I really highly recommend getting the preemie mitts, because right here at the top, it's just it's like a little bit more cinched, and I feel like they fit baby hands way better, especially newborns. So I highly recommend these. They come in handy, and I had a pair in my diaper bag at all times just in case, especially if like on this onesie, for example, it does have the cuffs. You can just like flip it over to protect their little hands, but if it doesn't have that, I always had mittens available and at hand just in case. So I had to readjust the camera angle a little bit. I don't know if you can tell, but anyways, the next newborn essential item that I would suggest having or getting is a wrap, some kind of wrap. Now I know this is not everybody's thing. Some people don't like to use wraps, and that's completely fine, to each their own. For me personally though, I use wraps all the time. I mean, literally all the time. Once again, this is one thing where there's like a million of them out there and you can choose which one you want. I personally use the Moby Wrap. I know that there are wraps with a thinner material. The Moby Wrap is a thicker material, and it is something that will keep your baby really warm, but it can get pretty warm. So if you didn't want to use a thicker material like this, I'm pretty sure the Sully Wrap is a thinner muslin material, which may be really nice. Once again though, I really like the Moby Wrap because in the winter it kept me and Mia both super warm. I will say I did not use the wrap until she was about 2-ish months old, just because she was so little. I didn't feel it was safe to put her in the wrap. I tried, I think, when she was about 8 pounds at 2, maybe 1.5 months, and she was like falling to the side and I was not comfortable with that. So I also don't think I was doing it tight enough. But once you work with them, I know that some people have fears that their babies will like fall out or whatever else. Once you work with them and you get comfortable with them and you know how to do it and you tighten them, they're honestly amazing to me. I know some people think it's too much work. They're like, oh, I just want the snap ones. Once again, like, to each their own. If that's your route, that's cool. I personally just like the wraps where you actually have to wrap them, because you can kind of customize the way you want to wear your baby, as well as like the tightness and everything like that, to make sure that you feel secure. And I loved it. I use my wrap all the time. We used it when we were taking walks on the beach. I used it like my sister used it to put Mia to sleep a lot at the beach, to help me out with that. I used it when I was cooking dinner, when I was cleaning. I used it to calm her down. I used it a lot. I used it to work outside. Like, I use this thing a lot. And another huge thing I used this for was when I went shopping. If I went grocery shopping or whatever else, especially when they're really little, this is perfect for that. Because sometimes you don't want to bring the entire stroller, or you don't want to bring the, you know, like the car seat in, because then it takes up your whole entire cart. But then you can't push a cart and a stroller if you're alone. So I personally feel like wraps are perfect for that. But I highly recommend these wraps. I use mine a lot, and I personally think it is an essential product. Like I said, grocery shopping, it's gonna make your day. The next thing is actually something I don't have with me, but it is a nose Frida. Now, if you don't know what this is, it sounds disgusting. I'm gonna put a picture probably right here, but a nose Frida is basically this little contraption thing. It has like a tube and a little like red nozzle, and then this other part. And this other part is like another like thicker round tube thing, and it has a little hole at the end, and you put this up to your baby's nostrils, and you put the other, like the red piece, up to your mouth, and you suck out their mucus. This sounds disgusting. It has a filter so that obviously it doesn't come up into your mouth, because obviously that would be unsanitary. But don't let it freak you out. Don't let the sound freak you out. I know at first when I hadn't done it yet, I was like, there's no way. Like, I can't do that. It's gross. I'm gonna honestly gag. There's no way that's happening. But when your baby is suffering and they can't breathe, you do what you have to do. Like, it just happens. I know some people still can't, but I made it happen. And if I can make it happen, a lot of people can make it happen. You can do it, trust me. But it is something that I think is necessary. The way that my doctor explained it to me when when she was about 1 month, maybe 2 months old, she had so much congestion all the time. Her nose was constantly stuffy, and like it sounded like she had a constant cold. And I was like, I don't understand like what is going on. And he said basically that like we all have a ton of fluid in our nose all the time, but as adults, obviously like our canals are bigger and our noses are bigger, and we have the space for that fluid, and as babies they don't. So they're a little congested. And he told us that it wouldn't go away till around 5 or 6 months, and that was true. She stayed congested for a really long time, maybe till about 4 to 5 months, but she did stay congested. But just to help put our minds at ease, we had the nose Frida, and we used it a lot, and we still use it, and it works amazingly. It sounds gross, but it really does help your child out. If you don't want to use one of these, or you know, your baby can't blow their nose, it just works so well at getting all of that out for them, so that they're not like suffering all the time with that, it came in handy a lot with that. So I highly recommend one. Once again, to each their own, but I think it is so worth it. So the last newborn essential I'm going to talk about today is something that I personally love. There are a lot of different seats available or loungers available, or I don't know how you would describe it, little beds, whatever, for newborns, and a lot of them are incredibly expensive. The two major ones are DockATot and Snuggle Me Organic. Now, don't get me wrong, I want a Snuggle Me Organic and I plan to get one with our next baby. I wanted one for Mia, but it never ended up happening, and within the first week, she came early, so I was gonna get it before she came, and it just didn't happen because she just came so unexpectedly that I honestly just didn't have the time to get it. And then we got home, I needed something like that day. I think like literally like the third or second day I had her home, I needed something like that day, and I was like, just go to Target and get this, because it was a cheaper alternative and it was something that I could go and just pick up and grab, because I knew I didn't want the DockATot. I knew I wanted a Snuggle Me Organic, so I knew like we couldn't go out and go get a Snuggle Me Organic, because I'm pretty sure you can only get them online. That may have changed since then, but I'm not sure. But I knew I didn't want the DockATot, so I had Matt go and pick up one of these. This is just a bumbo seat or lounger. I don't know. It's reversible, so you can use both sides of this. It has a little handle up top. Basically, it does have like a little like divot right here. I don't know if you can see it. I guess there you can. It's just like a little pillow, and this thing is amazing. If you have a baby, I do highly recommend this. It's only like $40 compared to like the $150 to $200 that a Snuggle Me Organic and DockATot are. And it doesn't work the exact same. Obviously, those are a lot bigger. They're flat. They're more flat, I guess. But this one I honestly loved, and I used this until she was probably 6 months old. I used this a lot. I highly recommend it. It fits them so well, especially if they're swaddled. You just put them in here. They fit super well in here. They fit super nice. I did put blankets in here at first, like a blanket to kind of fill up some of this little divot in here, because it was like a little low for her because she was so small. But as she grew, put her in here, and just like she would stare at me. I could put her in here and I could go like clean or do whatever I need to do. I could work on schoolwork, and she could just have somewhere to like lounge. And it kind of, because it's not flat like the DockATots and Snuggle Me Organic, it kind of like sat her up just a little bit to where it was like comfortable enough to where she could still see and kind of look around and like gauge her surroundings, which I think was really important and she really loved. And I do suggest, like, this is supposed to be like a floor item to keep them in the floor in this. I put this on the couch. If you're gonna put it on the couch, please obviously be safe and make sure you're like standing right there. If I ever had her in this and I was on the couch, I was sitting with her, so that is super important. But I loved this thing. I used this a ton. I used it as a little seat as she got older. She used this for such a long time. I didn't put it in, like, put it away like in her closet as like storage until probably about 7 months. So I think this is super like affordable version of like a little lounger type situation. If you don't have the money, or you don't want to spend the money on the DockATot or the Snuggle Me Organic, I highly recommend this. It's so good. It's not talked about enough. It honestly kind of like saved me, so I highly recommend it. But yeah, so that was my newborns essentials video, you guys. I hope it wasn't like too much stuff. This is just the stuff that I personally used all the time when she was a newborn, and I think it was all of this stuff right here was what was necessary for me. I didn't feel like I needed a whole bunch of stuff. I think like this is as basic as it gets for newborn essentials, and stuff that I personally think that I used a lot and is necessary for me. And I know that next time I'm not gonna feel like I need all this extra stuff, because some stuff I really just don't feel like is completely necessary. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, give this video a thumbs up and a like, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.